You are watching Issues at Hand on Church of Uganda Family TV, proudly brought to you by Protea Hotel Entebbe, a wonderful place where you can go for relaxation, for meditation, for conferences, for wedding receptions. Just make your reservations and your bookings, and then you will experience something amazing. And then when it comes to Issues at Hand, we get to experience how we can tackle issues in our country and our community together. We do it as a family, because here at Church of Uganda Family TV, we are family. So we talk about the current issues that are disturbing our communities and our countries, and then we find a way of tackling them, and we bring you people who are actually at the forefront of tackling these very issues. Now, the issue that we are trying to discuss, or trying to tackle but discussing today, is the issue, there are two issues. One, commercial sexual exploitation, and two, trafficking in persons. So that's what we are going to get into today. Thank you for joining us. Please, our WhatsApp number is 0787447684, 0787447684. Why am I giving you that number? Because we want to hear from you. If something asks you from the conversation we are having, or if you want to really let us know your view on what you think on human trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation, that number is for you. So send us a WhatsApp message, and we shall read out your comments and your queries on the subject. My name is Bruno Edgard, and today I am once again joined by a returning guest, that is Phiona Namazzi, who is the programs manager when it comes to prevention, especially from Rehab Uganda. You are very welcome. Welcome back to Issues at Hand.
Thank you so much for welcoming me. I'm excited to be here again, and thank you so much, viewers, for keeping on Family TV. May God bless you.
Amen and amen, and thank you for making your knowledge and presence available for us as we tackle this issue. Now, before we get into these very issues, we want to understand what Rehab Uganda is. What is Rehab Uganda? What do you do?
Okay, Rehab Uganda is a non-government organization, and it's based in Uganda. So it is a local non-government organization, Christian organization as well, that handles situations, or that tackles situations of commercial sexual exploitation and trafficking persons, mainly with a vision to see a nation where our girls are valued and their self-worth is upheld. And then we want to restore the self-image of girls that have been affected by those two crimes, that is commercial sexual exploitation and human trafficking. And we want to see that they can proactively engage in personal transformation. Personal transformation is that someone comes out from wherever they've been, or let's say in that cocoon of self-disrespect, self-denial, all those things, when you feel like you don't have your esteem because you've been affected by commercial sexual exploitation and trafficking. So what Rehab Uganda does, it brings them back, and then they rehabilitate you, reintegrate, and in all that, we want to see that you have yourself back, your esteem, your confidence, your boldness, you're empowered to stand economically and in all other aspects of life. So yes, that is what we do as Rehab Uganda.
Where did the Rehab start, and why? And we're going to get into that later, because when it comes to organizations that especially at the forefront of tackling some of these key issues of our society, we want to understand the mindset. Why did Rehab start, and when?
Rehab Uganda started 16 years ago. And the reason I'll give you a brief of how we started is that there was this group of very, very passionate women that thought they needed to give back to their community. And they were like, how? People have come out to support, let's say orphans, they've come out to support different categories of people. But they were like, how do we give back to our community? Because they were prayerful women and God heard their plea. So one day, someone was moving along the road at night, and they realized that there was a car that was moving. And as it was moving, there was a young girl that was behind the car. But as it passed them, this young girl was thrown out of the car. And when she was thrown out of the car, her dress kind of got stuck in the car door. So she was rolled over the road for like, let's say 200 meters, and these people were watching. So when they reached and realized this person was still on the car, they got out, they removed her, they left her there, and they took off. Now, no one knows where the car is, but the young girl stayed there. So the people who noticed that the young girl was there went and asked her, how did you get into this situation? And when she told them, I was brought to work from wherever they brought me, from where they got her. They brought her to Kampala to work, and she was into forced prostitution for someone else whom we call the pimp. So this person was getting money out of this girl, and this girl was brought in to work something different, but she was forced into prostitution. So that is how this other person that reached out to the other woman, and the other women were like, oh, I think this is what we need to do. We should fight this vice, and we should restore and protect these girls. So that is what happened, and that is how Rehab started. So all these years, 16 years, Rehab Uganda has been looking out to see who are those girls exploited sexually, who are those girls brought into the country, or from wherever they have been brought to work against their will, let's say, to be forced into any kind of harmful labor. So that is how Rehab Uganda started, yes.
In terms of core words, one of the words you mentioned as you're talking about the mandate of Rehab is self-image. Why self-image?
You realize that, I don't know, but I think it's a social thing that we have actually made normal. Because when you find a girl who is into, let's say, commercial sex work, and they're actually selling their bodies as part of their income, you find that the communities, if we are not so much, you find that the community will judge them. The community will bring all harsh words and harassments against them because of the nature of work that they have been, let's say, forced into, or they have taken a choice or decision to make. So the self-image is, when I am doing this work, I will not feel the confidence because this is not what the community has seen me to be. The community thinks I am worthless. I have actually taken the worst road in life. I don't think I have any future. I don't think I have any hope. This is all I can do, which is seen as very abominable. And not only the society, but as the government of Uganda, we do not believe in commercial sex workers' work. So it is a crime in all community, and so when we bring you back, we want to show you that you could have been in this situation, but this is not what you are. God sees you in another situation, another picture, or another image. Like we said, we are a Christian organization, so part of what we do to restore these girls is the discipleship and drawing them closer to God. So your self-image, your self-worth actually is not determined by the world, but it is determined by what God sees you to be, and from this day forth you can choose to be what God wants you to be. That is your self-image.
Wow, that's wonderful. And one of the words I liked hearing you say was discipleship, that many of these women are discipled to the image that God has for them, especially as regards the word of God. So it's very important that we have this discussion, and it is very pivotal to our community. If we do not have such discussions, then we might not find a solution to these problems. So that's why we're having this discussion here on Issues at Hand. Once again, if you want to be part of this conversation, please feel free to send us a WhatsApp message on 0787 447 684, 0787 447 684, and we shall address your comments and your queries. You are part of the community, you are part of this country, and you are part of our family here at Family TV, and so it is only by family that we can find every solution to the problems of our day. So let's get right into the thick of it. What is commercial sexual exploitation, and in what ways does it manifest in Uganda today?
Okay, commercial sexual exploitation, when we talk about commercial, we mean something that brings in money. Then sexual, we know all the different aspects around sexuality that we may not go into right now. But then exploitation is that someone is used or is forced, or someone is convinced to exchange their bodies with someone else for the sake of money. But that money does not come to me directly. Let's say I am Phiona here, I have you, allow me use you as my pimp. So you're someone who came to my village.
For purposes of clarity, I'm not a pimp, in case someone cuts out this video. Yes.
Yeah. So and then you come, let's say, to my village or wherever I am, and you find me and you're like, I want you to come and work with me. So when you bring me, you're actually making me work, or work as a sex worker, or be exploited as a child sexually. And then when the money comes in, it actually comes to you. So it is you to decide whether you give me some money or not, or you say I feed you, or you say what. Now that is in that other aspect of sexual exploitation commercially. So I come in, I offer someone sex for money, but that money comes to you. I never see it. Or you just choose a stipend to give me. That is already exploiting me sexually. But even some other times, you never give me. And that is fully commercial sexual exploitation. So you bring me in for purposes of giving or exchanging my body for sex, for the sake of money that comes to you that I never receive. That is what happens to commercial sexual exploitation. Unlike sexual exploitation, because commercial comes with money, but sexual exploitation can be anything. I could be exploited in my boss's house, I could be exploited in my house, I could be exploited within these spaces, I could be exploited anywhere, as long as you are tampering with my sexuality for your own benefit. That is sexual exploitation.
So what are the trends and how does it manifest in our society?
Yeah, like in our societies, like I mentioned, one of the things that we mainly look at sexual exploitation, commercial sexual exploitation, in the lodges, bars, clubs, brothels, where we have pimps. And these pimps bring in children, I will say children, because they bring them on their will or out of their will, that doesn't matter, but bringing them and forcing them to exchange sex for money, and you as the pimp are gaining. People look at that as simple or normal. People have normalized that, but it is eating up our children. I would say look in the bars. Someone brings in a very young child and they say, I want them to put on in a way that attracts my customers. I want you to look in a way that attracts my customers. Now, when these customers come in, they are not only taking whatever you are offering them in your bar, but they are even, I am part of what is offered.
The services.
Yeah, I'm part of the services. So when I come to you and complain, the other guy came and touched me, those touches that I don't understand, you're like, what brought you here? This is a bar, for heaven's sake. You must offer what is expected of you. Now that is normalized, but it is commercial sexual exploitation. Sexual exploitation is happening in small scale businesses where children are forced to offer sex to either bosses or anything for the sake of keeping the jobs. Now I am keeping it not for my, I'm giving you whatever you're asking for, not for my own will, but for your will, but because I want to do it, to keep the job. Unlike a few who choose to move away. So those are some of the trends that keep happening within our societies that we have normalized actually.
That is unfortunate. And then why has it been normalized? What are the drivers of this vice?
Like one I mentioned, the last is employment. Young women or children are brought in, and because they pursue to keep their employment, they pursue to keep their kind of work, their income, so you find that they will be coerced, they will be forced, actually they will be pushed into offering their bodies or being tampered with. Sexual exploitation doesn't actually mean you're really into the act of having sex with someone, but also being touches that are not that degrade my body. Now that is where we go into sexual exploitation or harassment. I am touched, I am made feel, I am those words that make me feel, that degrade my sexuality. Well. Yeah, it can be verbal. So all that is sexual exploitation around girls. And because I am trying to maintain my job, I'll be lenient with whatever my other superior wants to say. Wherever they touch, I'll be there. Even when they feel they want to rape, because I feel I need to cater for my mother back in the village. They do not have what to eat. My siblings are depending on me. And sometimes we happen to give into sexual exploitation, commercial sexual exploitation. And other factors, maybe because you feel your education levels are down, they cannot help you get a better job, so you feel this is the path I should take. Yes, you feel like you all those social factors that rotate around there. I am a woman, what do they expect from women? I am supposed to offer my body for anything. Social norms, cultures and practices. Yes.
And what are some of the areas in this country where commercial sexual exploitation is prevalent?
I could say, because this country is big, But wherever you see a city happening, wherever you see a commercial, a highly commercial or business center, there is no way you can eliminate sexual exploitation out of it. Now, the only challenge is, what are the numbers that are being recorded? What are the numbers that are being reported? The reporting and the numbers that are being recorded may be out of research or are the ones that could give us the prevalence, the highest prevalence. But trust me, in every aspect of this country where there is a city, where there is a commercial space or a business developed area, there is situations of exploitation and abuse commercially. Yes.
Oh, all right. And that's very, very worrying indeed for our country and for our community. But it's good to see the likes of Rehab Uganda are there to ensure that this vice no longer becomes a problem and that it is tackled. Now we shall get into what Rehab is doing to fight commercial sexual exploitation. But right now, let's switch to the other focus when it comes to Rehab Uganda, which is trafficking in persons and human trafficking. And many times we use this word is used loosely, and a lot of people use it, but do we really understand what human trafficking means? So tell us, what is human trafficking?
Human trafficking in our lay language, that is Luganda, is okukukusa mu bantu. Okukukusa mu bantu. But in English, that is where we come to say that someone is moved, transported, harbored, kept somewhere, received by someone, and all for the purposes of exploitation. So, omuntu omukukusiza ng'oyagala kumunyunyunta, that is the easiest. Kati, what happens is that I could be here, like I said, I could be in my village, someone comes and they says, I have gotten for you a job in Kampala. Meanwhile, that job is for you to go and work, let's say, in a supermarket. You work morning to evening. But when I come to Kampala, I find myself down in Katwe, where there is a brothel managed by someone who is going to make me offer sex for money, but on their behalf. So actually this person would be the one offering sex for money, but they have brought me to offer sex for money on their behalf. That is who we call a pimp, and that is what we call trafficking in persons. What proves it is that there was deceit. So I was moved from wherever I was moved, from my village. I was transported to Kampala. I was harbored by this person. I was received. But they deceived me. There was fraud. There was coercion. You don't have a job. You're in the village. You need to care for your mother. I was compelled. I was pushed into this something. But at the end of the day, whatever you promised is not what you gave me. In fact, whatever you gave me is exploiting me, or it is causing harm to my body or to myself. And that is what proves trafficking in persons. That is what proves okukukusa mu bantu. Now, that is within the country. Outside the country, also the same. I will come here, you tell me I've gotten for you a job, let's say in a mall, because those are the most trending ways out there. I've gotten for you a job in a mall. So when you reach there, they actually you try to process all your things. You have your documents, you have your visa, you have your passport, and then you move. When you move there, you find someone who received you. So you've already been transported from Kampala to wherever you have gone. Let's say to the UAE, you've reached the UAE. Someone has received you at the airport, they've transported you to wherever, they've taken you, they've harbored you, they have received you. Now, they lied to you about the job. So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, you don't see what? Someone taking you to the mall. And day 5, that is when you see a very huge big man comes in and they request you to have sex with them. You don't know where they are coming from, they are not going to pay you. Meanwhile, there's someone else who is what? Who is paid. Even besides commercial sexual exploitation or sexual exploitation, there is forced labor. That I am told I'm going to work in one house, but I reach there, I find like a storage building of like 6 floors, and each has like 7 people, and I am supposed to serve all of them in 24 hours in that storage building, whatever. But I am supposed to serve them, all of them satisfactorily. So that is where you find situations of back pain, situations of ache, situations of death. They are being beaten because you cannot serve all those people satisfactorily. So that is when you find they are beaten bitterly, they are refused, they are denied payment, they are denied rest time, they do not rest. They work for long hours, cold, warm, day, night, they are working. So imagine a normal human being. No one can contain that, even if you are so hardworking. So that is human trafficking for labor exploitation. So human trafficking for commercial exploitation. So that is where we intertwine our work. So someone could be trafficked for commercial sexual exploitation. So that is why we tackle both trafficking in persons and commercial sexual exploitation. Well, the other aspects of why people could be trafficked, that is forced labor, organ harvest, which is trending right now.
Yes, and there was a story, there were some people who were rioting here in Uganda about someone who was trafficked to Saudi Arabia, and there were organs missing, and so it's a very big problem here, and it was quite recent, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's not the first story that has come. We have had so many of these stories coming in Uganda, and it's unfortunate that it's happening. So we have we've had these stories of the trafficking that happens abroad.
Yes.
And for many of us as citizens of Uganda, when we think human trafficking, we think, okay, those are people who have gone to work abroad and they have been lied to, so they're either exploited sexually, or they are taken for forced labor, and then even some of them, their organs are harvested, and then they are returned to this country without organs, and all that. They are refused from leaving that country that they have gone to. So many of us understand it this way. But then there's this issue of domestic human trafficking. Can you tell us more about that? Because many of us take it for granted, and yet we might be perpetrators of domestic human trafficking, even in our homes.
Yeah, domestic human trafficking, I think I will start with the most common that we all know, the children on the streets. Children on the streets, most of them, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Uganda and outside Uganda, most of them are victims of child trafficking. These children are vulnerable to economic depression. They are vulnerable to all situations that do not put the life of children together. Let's say in families, all those situations that are bad, let's say bad, that are not appealing. So because they are into that vulnerable state, people are using their vulnerability to exploit them. So they go into their villages, their communities. They actually now, even before these people go to their villages, the parents themselves are selling them out to get some income. Not even so much money, below 50,000. And a parent is selling their child out. Now, when these children are brought from wherever they come from, they are brought to Kampala, and they are forced to beg on the streets. So they are trafficked for forced begging on the streets. And in case you do not bring money, or you do not bring yields as expected, that means you will not even eat, you will not have where to sleep, you will be chased away. So that is why they plead with you, please give me, because they know if they do not take anything back to the pimp, they will not eat, they will be forced back into the villages where they actually don't want to be, and then they are taken back, and then, or maybe they are beaten bitterly. Tomorrow, go work hard, you are not working hard. So they face all those kinds of trauma, being traumatized after being trafficked for forced begging. Even besides forced begging, we have children in our homes. We have these children, they have this trend that we have normalized. Let me take her, let me take this child away from you. Now, when you bring them, you may bring them, yes, you've told them that they are going to take care of the house. But one, they are children. They are not supposed to be working. That is child labor. So you could have trafficked them for child labor. Then you could have brought them into your house, yes, actually to work. But at the first point, they are children. But you brought them into your house, and then they are being sexually abused by either your older son, your older daughter, your older husband, your older wife. So that draws back to sexual exploitation and human trafficking. But there's also situations where my auntie, my father has passed, my mom has passed, my auntie has brought me. They've promised me to go back to school. They will be paying for my education. When my auntie brings me, I become the caretaker of her children. So now I become a children caretaker, a child caretaker. So I am actually child and I'm taking care of children. So you told me you are taking me to school. You have brought me, you are making me care for your children. Besides that, I am working so hard. I am a child. I am sexually exploited, maybe in one way or the other. I am not paid. I am harassed. I do not eat well. I do not rest well. All those brought together, they can feed into what we call human trafficking, domestic. Because why? You transported me from wherever I was, you brought me into your house, harbored me, you lied to me. Those are the means in which you made me accept, and you are here exploiting me on you for your own benefit. Yes, that is domestic.
And just to show you how stark the situation is, 7,000 to 12,000 children are trafficked annually and exploited in Uganda. So it's a very, very serious problem. And for us here as a family, we are very saddened by this, because it means many of our children who deserve better in terms of their lives are out there in the streets and out there doing things for money, which ends up with their masters. And that is very sad indeed. But when it comes to trafficking in persons, tell us, what are the causes of this trafficking from both the perspective of the perpetrators and then the victims? Why is it so easy for many victims to be gullible to human trafficking? I usually see there's a place I pass by every single day, and I see there are women who lines of scores of women making lines, and they are holding buckets, and they have packed bags, and I'm usually told that these are ladies who are being flown to different places to do different jobs, and certainly many of them are, if not most of them, are victims to human trafficking. So what causes this? Why is it so easy for this vice to spread in our country?
Like you mentioned, from both sides, we have the side of the perpetrator and then the side of the victim. Now, why it is easy for the perpetrator? Because like I told you, they prey on the vulnerability. So they'll know that you are actually vulnerable, you need a job, you do not have enough education, you know that you do not have enough education, you already have a mindset of failure, you already have a mindset that you cannot do anything within your country and succeed. So jobs are low, we don't have jobs, we don't have anything, we cannot even survive in our own nation. Now, that is already a vulnerable mindset that I, as a perpetrator, will come and prey on that. How? I'll promise good jobs, I'll promise a better job, I'll promise good life, I'll promise good payment, I'll promise I've paid your visa ticket, whatever. Everything I have paid. Even within the nation, I'll pay for your education, I'll make sure you have a good job, I'll make sure you have a nice house. And in that, your mind has already been corrupted with all these good things that they have promised you. Now, that is when we come to the means. They have promised you good jobs, they have preyed on your vulnerability, they have done all that. Now, because I am also in a situation of vulnerability, I'll accept. So that is when I'll find myself that I am in let's say I'm in a shrine. They've taken away my head for witchcraft, or if not so, they've taken away anything from me for witchcraft. So like I said, both areas, vulnerability, the economic situation, your very, very personal mindset, what do you think about yourself? People think they can no longer thrive in Uganda. People think they can no longer thrive in the jobs that they have. They seek for better. So as you pursue better, someone is already seeing an opportunity to exploit you. So vulnerability and all these other economic situations, social, when we come to the climate changes, when we come to the social aspects, communities are not very, very welcoming. They are not very, very supportive, let's say to a girl child. So all those, they make us vulnerable, and these people prey on all that vulnerability. And that is why you see trends of trafficking happening.
And so if we continue to have problems like the problem of unemployment, that means that these vices are going to continue to happen, because these these perpetrators prey on this weakness of people being very what's the word, being very they want to get jobs so much. Exactly, they are desperate. Yes, that's the word, desperate about ensuring that I have a job, I go and work abroad, I take care of my family. And there's also another cause, a prevalent cause for human trafficking in Uganda and even abroad, and that's the problem of domestic violence. That I've been told from some of the people who are working to fight this vice that a lot of, especially women, end up going for these jobs abroad or other jobs from up country to Kampala because their men they're running away from their families. Their men have either mistreated them, their husbands, or have deserted them, and now they have to find a way to support their children. Can you speak to that?
Most of them, you find that they are single mothers, let's say, or they are mothers without husbands. They've been in abusive marriages, first of all. They have been in abusive relationships, cohabiting, but also the husbands are not taking up the responsibility. They are partially taking up responsibility. They are not paying for the children. They are not catering for the bills. The women themselves need to be catered for. And then you find that all those situations pile up. And a day when you want to speak about them or you want to rectify them, that is when you will find a lot of resistance from your partner. You will receive a lot of resistance, and that is where situations, those extreme, come from. That is when you hear they were beaten, they fought, because they did not start with fighting. They started with the simple things of, let's talk about this, let's care for the children. You don't care for the children, you don't pay school fees. And because we want to talk about it, that is when the extreme comes in. They are beaten, they are left, they are harassed, they are threatened. And because I want to run for my life, that is when you find someone who tells you, why don't you go abroad and work for your children? Why don't you try this job in Abu Dhabi and work for your children? They will be paying you high. So that is how they happen to run away or get away from their abusers in order to fix their lives. Yes.
Are there stories that you can share with us, without mentioning names, of course, about some of the victims of human trafficking and how they came about to become victims of the vice?
Yeah, actually, because we work with survivors, so we have so many of those that we have encountered. But I'll just give you one. For the youth that are at the university, we had that survivor who was at the university, and then this other friend of hers came and told her, you know what, my auntie has very many people that she knows, and I know she can connect you, and you go and work as a teacher, a nursery teacher, a nursery, both nursery and primary, but that was in Asia, so one of the countries in Asia. And then when she reached there, the auntie processed everything. Meanwhile, she bothered to ask, why not you? Why do you connect me to your auntie? Why not you? Why can't she take you? Don't you want the job? So that is how. But because she was desperate, she felt, I'm studying to get money. Money is here. So she had to take on the job. So she reached, and when she reached, she was received by someone, and she was put into a safe house, or a house where she was supposed to stay. But as immediately upon arrival, before she got herself together, put herself together, like, I have arrived, how do I move on? Someone bumped into her what? Her bedroom and asked her, remove your shoes, remove your clothes, remove everything. I want you completely naked. So they started taking, they got the smartphone, they started taking pictures. They asked her, do this, do this, do this, do whatever. And she was like, why? So she was in a lot of fear. They told her, you see this? All these pictures will be posted on all your socials. They will be sent to all your family. They will be sent in every part of Uganda where they can be seen. They will be sent to your university pages for your people to see. Unless you are supposed to do whatever we ask you, because we put a lot of money in your ticket, in your visa and everything. So you are supposed to come here. You will go, provide sex to men, and then we will be paid until our money is done.
Is recovered.
So that is how she was forced into commercial sex. She was forced into prostitution for up to 12 months. And she says in those 12 months, she never received a penny from her pimp. only the money that she would touch is this that has been given as a stipend or as a tip by the customer. So that is how she got exploited. And after that time, that is when she tried, she got a chance and ran away, and she met other partners that work with Rehab Uganda that were able to bring her back. So that was her situation. But why? She did not take time to find out, how do I travel safely? What exactly is entailed? Do I have a contract? Do I have an employment contract? And because she needed money, she was the only child of her mother, she felt like studying education was really taking a lot of time. I've gotten this opportunity. So that was a very, very live example of her. And in the end, when she came back, she really wasn't well because she didn't get any money. She had gotten pregnant, she had a child. Unfortunately, she was infected. Unfortunately, she did not come up with anything that she thought she had gone to help her mother. She actually came back and became a burden to her mother. So that is how people can lie to you. They prey on your vulnerability. And because you don't have enough information, you do not make enough research, you find yourself traveling, getting out of the country, and you find yourself in situations of abuse and exploitation.
That's a very poignant example, which is an alert to us to be very vigilant and ensure that we do not find ourselves, or our children do not find themselves as victims of such vices. And we have been understanding what they mean. Now that we know that the problems are indeed immense, we are going to get into now the solutions. How can these vices be stopped? But another reminder, in case you want to be part of this conversation, please send us a WhatsApp message on 0787447684. We really want to hear from you, and we want to hear what you have to say on these topics. Now, Miss Phiona, please tell us, what is Rehab Uganda doing to tackle the vices of commercial sexual exploitation and human trafficking here in Uganda?
Thank you. What Rehab Uganda does, like I told you, we have approaches. So we have the protection approach, we have the prevention approach, we have the partnership, and then we have the prosecution. So those are the 4 P's. When we come to prevention of trafficking in persons, we have those 4 P's. And Rehab Uganda largely focuses on like 2, and then partners around with the other 2. So what we do mainly, like I told you, this young girl, if she had enough information about what trafficking is and commercial sexual exploitation, probably she would ask more questions that will lead her to the authenticity of this job or not. So what Rehab Uganda does, we reach out to communities. We reach out to the different community structures. We leverage on the structures. Let's say schools, universities, churches, community circles, women groups, let's say netball, football teams, those where we have the potential migrants that would end up into being victims, or what we call potential victims. We reach out to you, and then we take you through what we call an awareness raising about trafficking in persons. What is trafficking in persons? What are the red spots? Those things that you look at and say, this is a red flag. When I see this happening, let's say someone is forcing me to make fraudulent documents. Let's say my passport is fraudulent. Then they are not allowing me to tell my parents. My brother shouldn't know. My sister shouldn't know. I am going to move through another channel, not even the airport. And then after 4 days, we shall go into a trailer, and then the trailer will make us pass by down the road. Though all those things, those are already red flags. With that information, trust me, when you try to ask more questions, you will be disqualified, because they will know this person is trying to get into the depth of whatever we want to do. So have enough information, know the red flags, know the effects, know how someone can actually traffic you, and then we try to empower communities. How do you succeed, strive to succeed from wherever you are? Not that all the people that do not have employment are actually victims of trafficking, but there is a word that you said, how do we reduce desperation? How do we work towards taking away our desperation? How do we satisfy our needs with the little that we have as we pursue more, because as you pursue more, you need to survive. So learn to manage the little so that you survive. So that is what awareness raising we do. We teach, we build capacity, we get the people to appreciate the vice, the vulnerability that can make you a victim to this vice, and then how do you maneuver through it? Do you have enough or the needed information? So that is awareness raising. And on the other side, we reach out to the different, we input. Rehab Uganda is a member of the Ugandan National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, or on Prevention of Trafficking. It is a national body that is under the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Coordination Office on Prevention of Trafficking in Persons. So this body and this office has come up to put up policies, laws, and strategies on ending and fighting human trafficking. So Rehab Uganda has gladly contributed to the development of all those policies, because currently we have the National Action Plan, we have the National Referral Guideline that helps organizations refer victims. And then in the same way, when we receive you as a victim, because we know we are preventing, but then the victims are still what? Still there. So when we bring you in, we know that there was a situation that brought you or that forced you into whatever you got into. So what we do is that we do trauma-informed counseling. This counseling is preparing you to heal from whatever happened to you. Let's say the other example I gave you, and then you come down, we teach you how you can manage business. We give you an opportunity to learn a skill, let's say hairdressing or business development or tailoring, and then where possible, we give you a startup capital. And in all this, what we are saying is that we are avoiding re-exploitation and re-trafficking. So we do not just give you this, but we first train you on how you can manage these little resources and grow them to the big resources that you had gone to look out for. So we empower you into an individual, the personal transformation I told you, the proactiveness. Be proactive in the little that you have with this little skill. People are using the same skill in Uganda and they are thriving. You too can. So what we do is we do capacity building, we do victim centered approaches, and then economic skills empowerment and advocacy at the local government level and then the national level. So that is what we are doing to address this issue.
And what are some of the challenges that you faced as Rehab as you've tackled this issue head on?
Okay, now I will say Rehab has the challenges, but maybe because we are at this national platform, I would mention the fact that it is not just Rehab facing, but all other organizations and the key stakeholders that perpetrators are identified. But you know, we need to have more vigilancy in identifying perpetrators, which is still a challenge. Perpetrators, because trafficking is a disguised crime, by the way, human trafficking. When I sit in my car, I'll have 4 girls in my car, and when I have them, you'll never come and ask me, where are you taking these girls? But in the back of my mind, I know these girls, I'm taking them somewhere, they're going to do this for the sake of me. So that means I am already a perpetrator, but it is hard to identify. However, the communities that could have enough information cannot report because they do not have enough information. They feel they do not have security, they do not have guarantee. So that is a challenge, that reporting is hard. So even perpetrating or bringing these people, the perpetrators, to book has become hard because of the numbers that are not reported.
And on the subject of reporting, actually, we have received your questions as our family members and viewers. And on that subject, that very subject of reporting, Edith from SETA says, "Hello Family TV, thank you for the program. I want to ask Ms. Namazzi, are there laws that convict the traffickers so that we can confidently report such cases?"
Yes, I would actually tell you, Miss Edith, that they are laws. We have a full law called the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act of 2009, and it was its regulations, the regulations that help in implementing the act, were also passed in 2019. And above that, we have the National Action Plan that was passed in 2020. And these 3 are used, all these two, because the other one feeds into the other, but they help you know how to report, where to report, and then when you report, the perpetrator or the judicial officials or all those law enforcement officials shall use the law to bring this perpetrator to book. So I would request the entire community to confidently report suspected, you may not even be sure, but any suspected cases of commercial sexual exploitation or trafficking in persons, in children, kindly report to the nearest. Let's say you could start with your LC1, you could go to the nearest police officer, you could go to the community development officer or the probation officer in case it is a child. So for all those authorities, the nearest authorities and law enforcement officers report, and the case shall be moved forward, moved forward, moved forward.
You can report, and the law has given you sufficient backing to report to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book. Now, in another question from Lubega Salim, he says, thank you so much for the show. My question to Miss Phiona is, your offices are in Machindi, and yet Machindi has the biggest number of prostitutes in places that you also know. What have you done to restore the dignity of the girl child in Machindi?
Thank you so much for knowing Machindi so well. The reason as to why we are located in Machindi is because we also know that it is a what? A hot spot. So, Rehab Uganda is one organization. And the fact that we are only feeding into the work of the government, so we have done a lot, but we cannot say we are going to work to eradicate we as we. So we are working together with the authorities in Machindi to see that our work is not in vain. When we say we are reaching out, so because Rehab Uganda has got a drop-in center in Machindi, and for the years that we have been there, I think they are now 12 years since 2008 to 2012. Yeah, they're now 8 years, right? So for the 8 years, we've been able to work and restore the self-image of up to 709 girls currently. 709 girls and young women that have gone through our program. They have gone through the skills development. They have been empowered. They've been able to learn a skill. Most of them are self-employed. Many of them are into gainful employment. And most of them are working their own businesses. Like, let's say, besides them being tailors or hairdressers, having salons, they are actually into gainful employment ventures here and there to ensure that they're restoring their lives. And we can boldly say that these girls have been able to move away from the brothels because they stay in the brothels, like he mentions. He knows them. There are so many brothels within Machindi, lodges, bars, all those places where the girls reside. But they've been able to confidently move out of the brothels and own a dignified business and space to abode or to stay. So they can, because they know I can work, I can earn a living, I have this income generating activity that I'm doing, it can support me pay for my rent, pay and care for my children. That means I do not have any reason staying in a brothel, I do not have any reason going back to the streets. So that is what Rehab Uganda has done. But also, we have worked with the authorities within Machindi. How do we protect children? Because children is also a gist. How do we ensure that children are not allowed to access those brothels? How do we ensure that children are not allowed to access bars, lodges, and all those? So we have worked with the real brothel owners. When you reach in Machindi, when you talk about the organization that fights children, they will talk about Rehab Uganda. When you go to the brothels, they will tell you there is an organization that came here and we built, just a few challenges there and there, but we built, I should call it an army or champions that try to protect children from accessing the brothels. Within them, let's say they say you send a thief to catch a thief. So we sent these very girls that are there to make sure that children do not access brothels. So yes, the efforts are still there. Like I told you, we are supplementing government's work.
government's work. And then talking about government's work, Ocean Amos in Makere Chikoni says, thank you so much for the show. I think it's high time the government rose up to fight this vice eating up our country. And then in your final remark, what is your say when it comes to these two vices? What should we be keen about as members of this community when it comes to the vices of commercial sexual exploitation and trafficking in persons?
Okay, I think maybe the community will come later, but maybe I would start with a plea to the government that the law enforcement officers actually have limited information on how to manage cases of trafficking, most especially prosecution of the perpetrators. So maybe we need to have more capacity building for our law enforcement officers so that they can confidently address these issues within their courtrooms, within their workspaces. Investigators, all those law enforcement officers, starting from the investigator, the CIDs, and all those who go up to the judicial level, they need to have more information on how to prosecute cases. When the perpetrators are brought to book, when suspected cases are investigated and actually proven guilty, that means those are the numbers that we are reducing from our communities. As per the law, they will keep them in custody for life imprisonment. They will either be sentenced to death or up to 15 years, at least, in prison. So that means we are reducing the number. When we report and these people are perpetrated, the numbers are reducing and our communities are becoming safer for the children. So it is a plea to have more capacity for all the law enforcement officers and ensure that perpetrators are brought to book, are prosecuted. And to the entire community, let us be very, very vigilant. Situations of vulnerability are the ones that cause us or that expose us to these perpetrators who prey on our vulnerability. So we should have enough information on how to travel safely. Yes, traveling outside the country to work is very, very good and it is welcome by the entire society, the community, the government. It is supported. But have the right information that keeps you as an individual safe from being exploited or even being trafficked.
Thank you so much, Phiona Namazzi, Programs Manager, Rehab Uganda, especially when it comes to prevention. And today we have sufficiently talked about it. And thank you, our viewers, for being part of the conversation. And we'll continue to talk about these issues because they are the prevalent issues in our society and we must find solutions to them. Thank you so much for being part of Issues at Hand. We shall see you tomorrow. For now, please be a good family member and let us fight these vices together by one, being vigilant, but by two, by reporting suspected cases of human trafficking or commercial sexual exploitation. This is Issues at Hand on Church of Uganda Family TV. God richly bless you.